My girlfriend cheated on me with her ex-boyfriend and poisoned me twice. First, I want to thank Nate for sharing his story with us. Today is June 29th, 2025. I'm finally ready to share my story. My ex-girlfriend was a nurse whom I dated for 4.5 years. She cheated multiple times, poisoned me twice. I didn't realize it at the time, and cheated again. My commentary. All I am going to say is, I am happy he is still alive. It all started when I was a manager at a retail store. In walks this beautiful blonde woman in a nurse's uniform. She and I locked eyes and just hit it off right away. She became a regular customer, and we would talk all the time. But I eventually found out she had a boyfriend, which was surprising since she was always flirtatious and even bought me coffee a couple of times when she came into my store. She eventually gave me her number and told me things were over between her and her ex-boyfriend, but he was still living with her since he had nowhere else to go. She even invited me to come over while her now ex-boyfriend was at work. I declined and told her I couldn't date her given her situation with her ex. About a week later, she kicked her ex out of her house, but I later found out that she continued to pay his phone bills behind my back, even after I became official with her. My commentary. Now, if that isn't a red flag, I don't know what is. Our relationship started off very passionately. We had sex almost every day and everywhere in our house. In time, I noticed how possessive my girlfriend was. When I had to travel for work, she would make me FaceTime my room to make sure another woman wasn't in my hotel room. My girlfriend didn't want me to have women that were friends, nor did she want me to hang out with my guy friends unless she was there. It was a double standard since she had her own male best friend and she would go out for girls' nights with her female coworkers that were nurses at the hospital she worked at. My commentary. Fellas, we know about girls' nights now, don't we? Or if you didn't know, now you do. I am not saying all girls' nights end with infidelity, but since narrating stories, I have not seen a good outcome yet. Her excuse was that it was a dive bar and barely anyone went. I fully trusted her then, but in hindsight, I was whipped and under her control. About a year later, one night her male best friend wanted to go bowling with us. I had to work late, so I told her I couldn't go. My girlfriend said she was still going. I didn't feel comfortable with them going alone, and I told her this. To my surprise, my girlfriend responded, "Fuck you. Don't tell me what to do. You're not my dad." And she hung up the phone. My commentary. If that was me, I would have ended the relationship right then and ghosted her. That response from her would have told me everything I needed to know. I called her back and it went straight to voicemail. After work, I went straight to my apartment in shock and couldn't believe she cursed at me. She didn't call me back and I went to bed just thinking she needed to cool off. The next morning at 7 a.m. before I went to work, I thought I'd swing by her place to make up from our heated discussion to smooth things over. As I got up the stairs to her bedroom, I saw an unfamiliar sight. Her male best friend was passed out sleeping in the middle of her bed. She was laying right next to him. I noticed condoms all over the floor. We never used condoms, and I didn't know why they were there. I snapped a picture of them sleeping together in her dimly lit bedroom of my girlfriend and her male best friend in what looked like a post-sex slumber. She immediately woke up and said, "It's not what you think. He was going through a breakup and needed a place to stay." Before I could explode and confront her, I walked out of her house, turned off my phone, and left for work. What followed was a series of texts that featured apologies, blaming me for being nosy and begging to see me. I didn't know what to believe, but I knew something was off. I decided to meet her a few days later in a public setting, so she wouldn't yell at me nor have a meltdown for sympathy. My girlfriend told me they bowled together for hours and drank a lot. She was comforting her male best friend and that I was just projecting. She blamed me for not being there and thought I was being controlling for telling her I wasn't comfortable with her going to bowl alone with her male best friend. I pointed out how rude she was and her double standard because she didn't allow me to have female friends. I also asked, what the hell was he doing sleeping next to her? She told me they would sleep in the same bed all the time since college, but nothing ever happened. I had a gut feeling to end things since I thought she was lying to my face, but I loved her so much and wanted to believe her. I excused myself to go to the restroom before saying anything else. As dinner went on, I started to feel very sick, to the point that my ears were buzzing and I started profusely sweating. I told her I needed some air. I barely made it back to the car and could hardly speak. I literally felt like going in and out of consciousness. My girlfriend appeared and she told me she knew just what could help me feel better. She literally nursed me back to health in this restaurant parking lot with things she bought from a convenience store. I ended up following her home when I was physically able and we made up. I still had unanswered questions, but I assumed she loved me. A couple of months later, after moving into her place, I noticed a change since that night with her male best friend. My commentary: as we all know, this was a mistake, but I made this mistake as well. You don't move in with your girlfriend when she exhibits red flags like this, but as life goes on, you try to learn from your mistakes. We had a dead bedroom, and my girlfriend started to be more secretive with her phone. She started to tilt it away, and it would always be face down. She would be on it all the time when we were together, and sometimes even smiling to herself. My girlfriend also increased her girls' nights with her coworkers from the hospital. I confronted her that I had a gut feeling she was cheating. She told me, fuck your gut. She then asked to check my phone and accused me of cheating. I couldn't believe it, especially after I had caught her male best friend sleeping in her bed. She checked my phone and found nothing. I didn't want to invade her privacy, so I didn't check hers. A few days later, that gut feeling was so overwhelming that I went through her phone while she was sleeping. To my surprise, I saw messages between her and her ex-boyfriend. She told him that she missed him. She mentioned that she had just paid his phone bill and sent him lingerie pictures. I had never seen her in that lingerie. In fact, she never wore any for me. I also saw texts between her and her male best friend in which they said bad things about me and made fun of me. There were two other guys I didn't recognize in her Instagram DMs with flirty exchanges. My jaw hit the floor, and I waited for the next morning to confront her when she sobered up. The next morning, I told her everything I saw in her phone. She said, "You have no right to go through my phone." She lunged into me and said, "You dumbass N-word," with a hard "er." I was shocked and deeply hurt. I've never in my life been called the N-word as a black man, especially by a girlfriend that I loved. She immediately apologized profusely and said she was just angry that I didn't trust her. She told me she loved me and only me. I knew she was cheating on me, and those texts confirmed it. I just didn't have the courage to end things yet. I told her I needed some space to think. I stayed at a friend's place to get my thoughts together. The following weekend, I went back to her for dinner and conversation about everything. She made me food and apologized for emotionally cheating on me. She said nothing happened with her ex, and she was paying his phone bill still because she felt bad for kicking him out. I wanted to believe her, but as I was eating, I started to feel sick. My ears began buzzing and sweat was pouring from my head. It was very similar to my restaurant experience with her. When I got up to go to the bathroom, my legs gave out. I was passing out, but I kept trying to fight it. I fell face first into her staircase and cut my face. She eventually helped me to the bathroom and then left me there. My vomit was pitch black, and I thought I was throwing up blood. My girlfriend wasn't really helpful this time, and she refused to call 911. In fact, she didn't want me to go to the hospital where she worked. When I made it to the bed after struggling to walk, I passed out. The next morning, still feeling groggy and out of sorts, I went to an urgent care while my girlfriend was asleep. It finally clicked that she may have poisoned me not once, but twice, including a year prior when I thought of breaking up with her. See, my girlfriend was a nurse at a hospital, and she had access to all types of medication. It was all making sense, but I was in denial that she would intentionally hurt me. I should have had tests done, but against better judgment, I didn't, and instead I was only treated for nausea and had my face bandaged. I went back to the house and my girlfriend yelled at me for going to urgent care. She did suspiciously ask me what they said and if they tested me for anything. I had never seen her that nervous before. After all, I loved her and I believed that she loved me. I didn't realize that I was in a sunken place. I decided I needed to catch her in the act in order to see if she would slip up with whatever it was my gut was telling me was happening. Every question I asked her, she had an answer for everything. It turns out they were all lies, and she was allergic to accountability to the point of allegedly poisoning me. I paid close attention to her work habits and noticed that she was coming back later than usual. In fact, it was well past the shift of her posted work schedule at our place. When she wasn't working, she was out with her girlfriends on drunken girls' nights. One night she came back at 3 a.m. with a bruised mark on her neck. I asked her what it was, and she said it was a bee sting. I knew she was lying. I grabbed her phone, and sure enough, it turned out she went on a Tinder date. I finally caught her, but she still kept lying. She had an answer for everything like she always did and blamed me for not being fun in bed anymore. We only had sex 3 times in the past year. She admitted to physically cheating this time, but she said they didn't have sex. She also didn't admit to anything physical with her ex-boyfriend and male friend in those prior situations as well. I finally ended things and left her house. That unfortunately wasn't the end of things. She not only harassed me with texts, calls, and emails to get back with her, but she had the nerve to blast me on Facebook as a neglectful boyfriend that abandoned her. She said her job as a nurse was stressful, but I didn't support her when she needed it, and that's why she ended the relationship. I blocked her on all social media, but I also completely forgot to take a family heirloom amongst my things when I moved out. I asked for it back through her father, and she said no, and she wanted me back. I eventually had to pay a lawyer $900 to get it back from me after he threatened to take her to court. She stalled bringing it to his office, but eventually it came back safe. My ex left me a letter and a box of keepsakes from our dates together. I threw it all in the garbage. After years of lies, gaslighting, cheating, and disrespect, I was free. Thank you, Tony, for letting me share my story. I was so embarrassed to say this to anyone because I didn't have respect for myself, and I allowed a girlfriend to run amok in my life, and she almost ended it twice. I would tell other men to always trust your gut and properly vet these women before you get in a relationship with them. Pay attention to all the red flags and don't ignore them. The small things always end up being big things later on. My commentary. Well, he made some mistakes, like many of us have, like allowing love to keep us in a dangerous or toxic relationship. Okay, people, if your significant other is displaying major red flags, don't cohabitate with them, thinking that it's going to get better. And remember one thing, no man was born an alpha male.